I had a very successful private practice, but I was capped. I was trading dollars for hours. I was back-to-back one-to-one sessions. I was like, there's got to be a better way. I always valued my freedom. And I really also started studying the online industry at that time. I was like, what are all these coaches doing? What do they know that we don't know? What is this secret? How are they so successful? Us therapists should be on the front line of coaching.
This episode is sponsored by TherapyNotes, therapynotes.com. Be sure and check them out and be sure and use the promo code Gordon, Gordon, and you can try them out for 2 months for free. For the past 20 plus years, I've been working in the mental health field as a licensed therapist, private practice owner, coach, and consultant. And I've learned a lot the hard way, and I don't think you need to do the same. Hi there, I'm Gordon Brewer, and welcome to the Practice of Therapy Podcast, part of the Psychcraft network of podcasts. Whether you're just starting out, expanding your practice, or looking for fresh inspiration, this podcast is here to support you in your journey. Each week, we explore the real-world challenges and opportunities that come with building and growing your private practice. From marketing and money management to ethics, client care, and self-care, we cover it all. You'll hear from leading experts, seasoned clinicians, and innovative voices in the mental health and allied health fields, all sharing their insights and strategies to help you thrive in your practice. So let's jump in and get to today's episode of the Practice of Therapy Podcast. And welcome to the podcast. This is episode number 403 of the Practice of Therapy Podcast. I'm Gordon Brewer, and so glad you've joined me and with me on this journey, as I like to say, in listening to this particular podcast. You know, you've got lots of choices, but I'm really glad that you keep coming back, and we've just recently celebrated our 400th episode, and I'm so glad to be part of this journey with you. Do take time to follow us or subscribe to the podcast wherever you might be listening to it. In this particular episode, I'll be talking with Carly Hill, and we're going to be talking about how to structure coaching services alongside your private practice. That is something that has been kind of a hot topic lately for a lot of people that have been in private practice for a while. We recognize that a lot of what we do ends up being coaching with clients as opposed to traditional therapy. So love for you to listen to the rest of this episode and just hear some of Carly's insights and the ways in which she has transitioned from doing traditional therapy into doing coaching with people. And, it's something that I've done to some degree, but my coaching is more along the lines of business coaching, but our skills translate in a lot of ways. So stay tuned as we get into my interview with Carly. Before we get to that, though, one of the things I'd like for you to check out is my good friend Julie Harris has come out with a workbook for her premier book, Profit First for Therapists. And it's a beautiful workbook that goes alongside her book and helping you implement the Profit First principles in your practice. Several years ago, I had Mike Michalowicz on the podcast. He is the original author of the book Profit First. And so there have been a lot of people that have taken those principles and applied them to specific industries or specific professions. And that's exactly what Julie did. So be sure and check it out. You can go to practiceoftherapy.com/workbook, Profit First Workbook. So yeah, practiceoftherapy.com/Profit First Workbook. And that's a pretty link to get you exactly to the landing page for that in Amazon. So be sure and check it out. Also, before we get to my conversation with Carly, I'd love for you to hear from one of the members of the Psychcraft network, along with some words from our sponsor of the podcast, TherapyNotes.
Hey there, I'm Aaron Potratz.
And I'm Nathan Hawkins. If you don't know us yet, we're the host of the Shrink Think podcast, which bridges the gap between therapists and clients.
The Shrink Think podcast is proudly part of the Psychcraft Podcast Network, focused on helping people live more meaningful and productive lives.
Join us every Wednesday in our engaging, informative conversations and lighthearted humor to help you normalize and demystify therapy for those beginning or continuing their mental health journey.
We discuss everything from understanding styles of therapy to addressing conflict with your counselor, learning about attachment styles, and the fear triangle. We seek to run the gamut of topics to pull back the curtain and empower effective therapy.
If you haven't listened yet, you can find us at shrinkthink.com/podcast and discover other resources, including educational videos and fun swag at our swag shop.
Hi, this is Rachel, Gordon's podcast assistant, and I want to share the platform Gordon trusts for his own practice, TherapyNotes. TherapyNotes is the highest rated EHR, practice management, and billing software for mental health professionals. It's an all-in-one system for scheduling, notes, billing, and secure client communication. And if you ever need help, their 24/7 customer service is always just a call or email away. Their latest update, Therapy Fuel, uses AI to streamline documentation, generating progress notes, creating contact notes from client messages, and even summarizing client history forms, saving therapists hours every week. Are you ready to give it a try? Head to therapynotes.com, click Start My Free Trial, and use the code GORDON to get your first 2 months free. See why TherapyNotes is the most trusted EHR and the one Gordon chooses for his practice. Please enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to the podcast. And I'm excited for you to get to know today Carly Hill from Carly Hill Coaching. Carly, welcome. Glad you're on the podcast.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it all morning.
Yes, and Carly also has a podcast, and I'll let her tell you a little more about that, but it's the Thriving Therapreneur Podcast. And so, Carly, as I start with everyone, tell folks a little more about yourself and how you've landed where you've landed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a social worker by trade. I'm now a business coach, teaching therapists how they can outgrow the office, have more freedom, flexibility, security by tapping into the online space, creating digital products, creating courses, really leveraging all of their clinical knowledge and just making a larger impact and buying back their freedom. I started in community mental health, brick and mortar 9-to-5 therapy jobs. I did work at BetterHelp for a short period of time when I got laid off from my 9-to-5 therapy job during the pandemic. I had a very successful private practice, but I was capped. I was trading dollars for hours. I was back-to-back one-to-one sessions. I was like, there's got to be a better way. I always valued my freedom. And I really also started studying the online industry at that time. I was like, what are all these coaches doing? What do they know that we don't know? What is this secret? How are they so successful? And I was also a little skeptical, and I had all of these feelings about coaches because we went to school for years and years and years. We have certifications, every letter of the alphabet. But at the same time, I was curious and I was like, well, you know what? Us therapists should be on the front line of coaching. There's a time and a place and a space for therapy. There's a time and a place and a space for coaching. And honestly, I didn't even really fully understand the difference between therapy and coaching. It can be quite confusing, and we can talk about that. And when you Google it, most of the time people are more confused. And so I also started studying that difference, speaking with attorneys. How can I add coaching while protecting my license? I actually found out that I was doing a lot of coaching already in my quote unquote private practice, but I was limiting myself by the money I could make, by the impact that I could make. So I made the shift myself. Long story short, started creating curriculum, courses, digital products, therapists naturally started asking me, how are you doing this, Carly? I'm a natural teacher at heart. And so from that, my signature program, the Therapist to Coach Accelerator, was born. I actually, at the time of this recording, am doing a massive rebrand, and the name has changed to the Coach Intensive. I've added more support, but that's my MO, is just helping therapists scale, have freedom, use their clinical knowledge.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because I've found, kind of a parallel story for me. I've not necessarily I've got a small group practice, and we've not really made the shift to doing coaching. We're still traditional therapy and that sort of thing, but I can't break confidentiality, but I could name the clients that I'm just doing coaching with, and we're still doing,
it's so common.
Yeah. And so that sounds like a good place for us to start. Tell us how you define the difference between coaching and therapy, because I think that's something that a lot of us that, like you said, are clinically trained, we struggle with. And I think a lot of times that gets kind of, this isn't a great word, but gets poo-pooed by a lot of clinicians because it feels like they feel like, oh, well, I'm sinking below my education and my way of helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make it really simple. The easiest definition is coaching is solving a more situational, non-clinical, less severe problem. Therapy is treating medical necessity. You're treating textbook DSM criteria. It is more severe. Panic attacks, agoraphobia, that type of anxiety. Okay, yes. Medical necessity, therapy. You're having trouble standing up in the workplace. You're a new mom having trouble taking your baby to XYZ place. All right, you can be coached through that. So is it a situational, non-clinical, less severe problem? Or do they need to be treated for medical necessity? I think the definition that trips people up all the time is, well, therapy is working on the past and coaching is working on the present and the future. I know, as both a therapist and a coach, you talk about the past, present, and future in both scenarios.
Right.
So there is a lot of nuances and there is a lot of overlap. But if you can just stay focused on, am I treating them for medical necessity or not? For example, I have a therapist turned coach who works with domestic violence, PTSD in her private practice, right? And she has a coaching program to help these women boost self-confidence, get back into the dating world. It's very specific. It's just for that self-confidence, getting back into the dating world, navigating that. She's not treating them for PTSD. If they need to be treated for PTSD, she's going to put them in her private practice.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does. And that's really kind of how I've thought about it, excuse me, over the years as well. Just, coaching, helping with a specific problem that doesn't necessarily have any kind of, for lack of a better term, doesn't really fit any sort of diagnosis other than, we, unfortunately, or whatever, I think a lot of times we throw adjustment disorder on a lot
or anxiety unspecified. That was me in my private practice. And I was just, you don't know what you don't know, but I was so guilty of that. And I talk about that too.
Right.
And come to find out, I really was just coaching. They did not meet criteria.
Right.
I think we could always find something to diagnose anyone and everyone, including ourselves, with, right? But
well, yeah. And the other thing too, I think, is just the fact that, the funding of mental health, there's a lot of debate, in our circle, in our world, whether to be private pay or to accept insurance and that kind of thing. And I think everybody has to make that decision for themselves. But I know for my practice, we're an insurance-based practice, and it's mainly because of the demographics of our area and the number of people that are relying on insurance to get services. But yeah, so there's that whole piece in it as well. But, one of the things I think that a lot of people have thought about, and I know we talked about this before we started recording, was just adding coaching to your practice and ways to think about that. So let's hear it,
Yeah.
Carly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pull back the curtains, Carly. Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is you don't technically add it to your private practice. It needs to be separate. So now we're going to go into protecting your license a bit. And if you could take anything away from this, it's the word separate. Keep everything separate. Again, you don't know what you don't know. There's not that many people teaching how therapists can ethically and legally add coaching while protecting their license, because we are still mandated reporters, and informed consent is still important. And it does have to be different than our private practice. So separate business entity, meaning separate LLC. Right. So you're not technically adding it to your practice. You're adding a new business. And then people are like, oh, well, I don't want to have two of everything. I got to have two LLCs. I have to have two websites. I have to have two paperwork stuff. I got to have two liability insurances. It's not that hard. And once it's done, it's done. And it is so worth it to just have the peace of mind that you're doing it the proper way. And there's people like myself to walk you through this process where you have the proper paperwork and the proper disclaimers on your website. I would say it's no excuse to not add coaching, because it can be so daunting in your head, but it's actually pretty simple. It's not a hard and fast black and white rule if you need a separate website or not. You can have a services page on your private practice website. That's fine, but we don't want clients to be confused. It can be confusing for us to even understand the difference, right? And so have different colors and fonts on there. Have an explanation of this is the difference between therapy and coaching. So the first thing when you're like, all right, I want to add coaching, is just make sure you're taking the steps to protect your license. But then you got to figure out your coaching niche, right? This gets to be fun. It could be similar to what you're doing in your private practice, just that more situational, non-clinical, less severe version of that. You could actually be coaching the whole entire time in your private practice. And so that's an easy shift. For me, I just morphed my private practice into my coaching business. So some people have two businesses, some people morph it in. Some people choose to keep their private practice. They just want to reduce their clinical hours. Some people want to dissolve their private practice in due time. It's really up to you. Your coaching niche also could be something totally different. It could be a breath of fresh air. It could be something that you've walked yourself through in your personal life. I think that 90% of us are our own ideal client, and there's a beauty in coaching and sharing your story. It really gets to be an extension of yourself, where in therapy, we're taught not to self-disclose, right? So protecting your license, then figuring out your niche. And then it's really about going to market, letting yourself be known in the space, getting people to raise their hand and be like, whoa, what is this that you're offering? Tell me more. This is exactly what I need. And then enrolling them as clients.
Yeah. So how do you think that marketing for a coaching practice differs from marketing for a therapy practice, I guess?
Yeah.
Great
question. Obviously, it's different if you're taking insurance, you're going to market a different way. Just in your private practice, if you're a self-pay practice or you're an insurance-based practice, you're going to market differently. And obviously in coaching, it's completely self-pay, right? People can use their HSA, FSA if it allows them to do so, but still self-pay, no insurance. I think the main thing is, let's back up and talk about just marketing in general first. In marketing, you either have organic marketing or you have paid advertising. Organic marketing is free social media marketing. Paid advertising is either Google ads or Meta ads, so Facebook ads or Instagram ads. In your private practice, Google ads typically work well if you're going the paid advertising route because it's local, right? You usually have a brick and mortar practice, or even if you're just doing telehealth, you're still seeing clients within the state that you're licensed. So Google ads work well for that. In the coaching space, Meta ads work well. So that's Facebook and Instagram ads. Regardless, I never recommend anybody take a hop, skip, and a jump to paid advertising without testing out their messaging and seeing what lands with their ideal clients, what gets crickets. Like, it's just as important to know what didn't work as it is what worked.
Right.
And so it really does come down to your messaging, your niche, making sure that you're emotionally connecting with your ideal client avatar, where you are, if you're using social media, stopping the scroll, or you're getting them to open your email because you have a really good subject line. And that all comes down to your messaging. You have to let them know that you can help them, that you can solve their problem. People need to like us and trust us and know us, but more importantly, they need to know that we can solve their problem. That's what it comes down to. And then leading them in the next steps of the journey, right? So once you are top of mind and they do know that you can solve their problem, telling them how they can work with you. What do you have to offer? What is the next steps? Are they booking a call? Are they clicking here? Are they going to a sales page and they're buying your digital product, your ebook, your mini course, etc.? What is the next steps for them to get in touch with you?
Right.
At 1-800-Flowers.com, we know that connections are at the heart of being human. Whether celebrating life's joys or comforting during tough times, 1-800-Flowers helps you express what words can't. For nearly 50 years, millions have trusted 1-800-Flowers to deliver thoughtful gifts that help create lasting bonds. Because it's more than just a gift. It's your way of showing you care. Visit 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast and connect today. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Yeah. And, one thing that comes to mind for me and just thinking about this is a good resource for people is checking out the Story brand marketing kind of system from Donald Miller, because it addresses all of those things that you're talking about in terms of, making people aware of your presence there and how you can help them. I mean, I think a lot of times we have this idea that if we build it, they will come, but that's not, you've got to build it, then tell them about it. And also market from a standpoint of not how great you are, but how you can walk them through the problems that they're facing and how you help them find that transformation.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. We love as clinicians to talk about our process and to talk about even our certifications and credentials and our process is our baby. It's almost like we know too much sometimes. We know that that's how it's going to help them. But to be honest, nobody really cares. They don't care about our credentials. They don't care that much about our process, maybe a little bit. It doesn't mean we don't speak to it at all, but we speak to their everyday. We speak to their current living hell. We speak to the heaven that they want to get to. We tell them, hey, this is how I'm going to help you go from problem to solution. And we're just really clear about it. We dumb it down. We're not using AI to write all of our content. We're not copying and pasting things. You're emotionally connecting with them. And I will say too about social media marketing, you have to know, copywriting frameworks. It's not just about consistency. You do need to have a marketing strategy. It's not just consistency posting for fluff. All right, I post it Monday through Friday. My job is done. Hands are clean. Well, did you post with a proven path to move them along in the journey and get them to raise their hand? Or are you just posting as a chore?
Yeah. That's a really good point, because I think a lot of times people will approach social media in that way. Well, I'm posting stuff every day, but nobody's calling me. And it's just the messaging is so important with that. And just really, I think, like we said already, getting that whole transformation piece in there so that people can see what it's going to be like for them on the other side.
Right. And storytelling is a great way to do that. As you mentioned, story sells, right? If you can tell stories, if you can use analogies, if they can see themselves in you, then it's going to bypass the conscious mind. They're just going to understand. They're like, whoa, she gets it. Right. And they're going to be drawn to whatever you have to offer next if you tell them exactly what you have to offer next. It's kind of like you're dangling carrots and planting seeds everywhere. And then when something really goes on in their life, you're going to be top of mind, and they will call you if they know exactly how to call you. Right.
Something you mentioned earlier, Carly, that I think is probably worth exploring is in the therapy world, particularly if you're doing just like individual therapy or you're still providing therapeutic services, you're exchanging your time for giving your expertise and your guidance and that sort of thing. And then there's kind of a ceiling with that, in that there's only so many clients you can see in a week and only so much time you can put into it. And I think of it as going from one-to-one way of providing services to the one-to-many. So you want to say some more about that, about how that helps with coaching, particularly in the coaching world. Yeah.
The reality is, and I say this with love, and I've been there, private practice is not the best business model in the world because we are trading dollars for hours. We are trading time for money. We're only getting paid when our butt is in the therapy chair, when our client cancels or no shows, or we're on vacation. We're not getting paid, right? We're trading time for money. And the thing is, we know so much. We have so much clinical knowledge. How can we work smarter? How can we leverage all of our knowledge? How can we impact more lives? It's getting out of trading dollars for hours. It is public speaking. It is creating courses. I talked to so many therapists, and I felt the same way in my private practice. I was sick of repeating myself, right? Like you have a client the day before, you gave them the awesome spiel, you did some great psychoeducation, and then same client an hour later or the next day, you're saying it again, and you feel like a broken record. And you're like, I wish I could have just recorded that and had them watch that piece, and that would help them get faster results too. Right. You're trimming the fat, you're cutting the fluff, and you're giving them only what they need. It's a win-win. Right. And the reality is, not everybody needs therapy. If they don't need to be treated for medical necessity, but they think therapy is the only way that they can get help, they're going to go see a therapist for $150 for 3 years and spend $36,000. And it's going to take 3 years. I mean, I'm just making this up, but this is kind of average, right? To get from problem to solution, when they could have invested in a signature coaching program that was so hyper niche and so super specific for the exact problem they were having. They get to be around peers that are having the exact problem that they're having, and they can get faster, easier results, cheaper. It's the ultimate win-win. You get to leverage your time, your clinical knowledge. You get to make a little bit more cash. You get to impact more lives, and they get to have faster results. Right. So if you want to scale, if you want to impact more lives and you want to slowly buy back your freedom, putting your knowledge into a curriculum, putting your knowledge into something somebody can read, writing a book as well. Like I have a book. There's speaking, podcasts, writing a book, doing courses and products. There's so many different ways that you can impact more lives.
Right, right. Yeah. And I think it's, it's a better return on the investment of your time to really make that switch from the one-to-one way of providing services to the one-to-many.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to give up one-to-one either.
Right.
Most of my clients do a hybrid, even in their signature coaching programs. They're doing one group coaching call a week. They have their recorded curriculum, and then they have, X amount of one-to-ones with them. It's the best of all worlds. It's not either or ever in life, right? It gets to be both and.
Right. Yeah. So and so I think being able to think about it in those ways it is so helpful. I know it's been helpful for me in just thinking about my career so far and just being able to think about ways. And it's the reason I started this podcast, was just thinking about how I could help more people and, at the same time, be able to create additional income besides just my therapy practice and that sort of thing. And so that's how it's worked well for me in that journey. Yeah.
The potential is limitless. It's endless.
Right.
I mean, sky is the limit. The world is your oyster. You've been in the game a lot longer than I have. You have so much clinical knowledge that you could package up and sell. Yeah. And that actually becomes the easy part. It's the marketing and reverse engineering your launch plans and actually getting eyeballs on your gold that becomes the harder part. But so many clinicians have the fear around, well, I don't know enough, or how am I going to know what to put inside this course? Right. I think we forget how much we know sometimes, and it's just innate and intuitive in session. You just pull it out of your imaginary tool belt. And sometimes clients are like, what you said to me last week was so awesome. And you're like, what did I say to them? Like, it's just, it just comes out. Right. It's like muscle memory. So if you can leverage AI and use it as a brain dump tool, it's just going to mirror back to you everything that you actually do. And it's a plug and play formula that you can spit out your whole course outline in a matter of minutes. Right. And it is exactly what you do with clients. So creating the curriculum is actually so incredibly easy.
Right. And a good hint for people I would say, of both finding their niche, but also finding the thing that they're passionate about are two, I think, very important things in making that transition. To have both of those, I think your passion points to your niche, and also just paying attention. Okay, what are the things that I repeat with clients over and over again? And if you were to write that down, or you were to really somehow or another record that, there's your course.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. A great point that you brought up, because I have people come to me because coaching is appealing. You can make more money. And they're like, all right, Carly, what's the most profitable niches? How can I target rich people? And I'm like, you are thinking about this the totally wrong way.
Right.
We need to back up and just, what are you passionate about? Who do you want to help? We can monetize almost anything as long as we make it tangible and measurable. And people do struggle with their niche. If we talk about the most common challenges of therapists adding coaching, niche is totally one of them. I mean, we're used to solving every problem under the sun, morphing into whoever's in front of us. Our hearts want to save the world. We think it's going to be our niche for forever. We don't want to alienate anyone. It's a whole slew of mindset problems and drama that kind of come up when you're picking your niche. And then you're so sick of doing niche worksheets. And then you're like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to throw the towel in. But, your niche can be laid out for you very simply. And I always say the red carpet rolls out once you figure out your niche. You can actually just plug and play everything and get going.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, well, Carly, I've got to be respectful of your time. And I know we could probably spend all day talking about all of this, but tell folks a little more about your services and how they can get in touch with you and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Carly Hill Coaching. You can also visit my website, carlyhillcoaching.com. I have a Facebook group. It's free. I have probably thousands of free resources at this point, including my book. It's called the Therapist to Coach Accelerator. That's the name of the Facebook group. I'm sure we'll link all of this in the show notes. So
yes, absolutely.
Tons of different resources to connect, whether it's protecting your license, figuring out your niche, actually going to market and selling. We have you covered.
Right, right. And tell folks again the name of your podcast, and I'm sure they can find that wherever they listen to their podcasts, including wherever they're listening to this episode.
Yes, absolutely. It's called the Thriving Therapreneur Podcast. And I can't wait to have you on it, Gordon.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. And so, like Carly mentioned, we'll have links here in the show notes and the show summary. And so check it out. And thanks again, Carly, I'm glad we connected. I'm looking forward to having more conversations here in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much. Talk soon.
Well, a big thanks to Carly for joining me on the podcast. And I hope that this has given you some ideas and ways of thinking of diversifying your income streams, but also making your work a little easier by maybe transitioning into coaching and the ways in which you can do that. And Carly has a book, the Therapreneur book, and we've created an easy link for that for you. If you'll go to practiceoftherapy.com/Carly, you can access that information and get that book. So be sure and check it out. And again, a big thanks to our sponsor of the podcast, TherapyNotes. They are the leading electronic health record system for mental health providers. They're who I use in my practice and absolutely could not operate without them. But be sure and check them out by going to practiceoftherapy.com/therapynotes. And be sure and use that promo code, just Gordon, Gordon, to try them out for 2 months for free. So take care, folks, and we'll be with you on the next episode of the Practice of Therapy podcast. You have been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, part of the Psychcraft network of podcasts. Please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com for more information, resources, and tools to help you in starting, building, and growing your private practice. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive the free private practice startup guide at practiceoftherapy.com. And to find more great podcasts like this one, please visit the Psychcraft Network at psychcraftnetwork.com. The information in this podcast is intended to be accurate and authoritative concerning the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, or producers are rendering legal, accounting, or clinical advice. And if you need help in these areas, be sure to find the right professional to help you with these things.
Saks Fifth Avenue makes it easy to shop for your personal style. It's fall, and it's time to invest in new arrivals you'll want to wear again and again, like a relaxed Prada blazer and Gucci loafers that are great for work or a weekend rendezvous. Saks makes shopping feel totally customized to you. They'll even let you know when arrivals from your favorite designers are in, or when an item you've been eyeing is back in stock. For a personalized, easy shopping experience, head to Saks Fifth Avenue for the best fall arrivals and style inspiration.